Hey guys, hello. So, welcome to a little bit of a new style to my videos, which will be almost like a weekly training update. So, whether you like this or not, I'm unsure. I'm definitely going to do the car chats at some point, and I'll keep them coming for sure. I do really like them. Maybe I'll stick to just ranting in the car or something like that. I'm not too sure. But I'm just trying to find my way with the content in terms of something that I would like to do consistently, would like you guys to almost like look forward to it and know that it's going to come on a certain day, and then we can just sort of keep this coming, you know what I mean? So yeah, hope all you guys are good. This is going to be like basically a voiceover over some of my training clips throughout the entire week. So, and then we're going to obviously round up how I'm progressing and things like that, and we can obviously see hopefully linear progress over the time period that you watch these vlogs. So this was my first day of the week, and we had sumo deadlifts and back squats as the primary compound moves. Obviously, you're not going to see every movement in every session in these vlogs. You're just going to see the main ones. This was my top set on deads. I'll be now sort of switching to a more linear approach to my rep schemes with the sumo deadlift or with the deadlift, whichever way that I choose to head with a conventional or sumo. So I'm going to be sticking to sort of sets and reps and that are dictated in an undulating pattern throughout the week, which I mentioned on my Instagram the other day with my squats. A very similar pattern will follow with deads, bench and OHP, sort of programmed in a more effective manner as opposed to sort of, you know, winging it a little bit more in my sessions. But I was really happy with these. I got 180 for 9 on the sumo deadlift, which is a PR for me. Obviously, body weight has come up since hitting previously 180 for 7. But that's how you make progress. You know, you add body weight and you will add reps to your lifts. It's how you progress. And you've got to be a little bit appreciative of putting on a little bit more body fat and looking a little bit more curvy. And you will see progress in the gym, which is what we want in an off-season phase. I followed that up with squats. These are really quite difficult purely because my hips are so tight after sumo deadlifting. I won't be in the future combining squats and deadlifts on the same day. The way in which I'll program my squats and my deadlifts, my best results ever, my best squats ever have been from when I squatted twice a week. So once at the front end of the week and once at the back end of the week. And I want to be able to do that. So in order to deadlift as well, I'm going to be deadlifting on my pull day, which will fall 2 days after my first squat day. So I will see as to whether I can recover from that or not over time. We'll obviously see and assess. But we'll go from there, and hopefully that setup will work well. Followed that up with the other clip that you saw was one of my down sets on hip thrusts. I did get 220 for 7 or 6, I believe, of my top set. And then I did some down sets with 180. This is actually a clip of my client Joannie. So she was sumo deadlifting, wanted to send me through a video of her form as an analysis. And these were pretty much spot on. Now, some people will actually argue that the eccentric is too slow on these. But when you're using a sumo deadlift for a bodybuilding specific, or the specificity of your sumo or your deadlift is for bodybuilding, why would you want to lose the muscle damage response that you get from controlling the negative or controlling the eccentric? So I don't really get it when people say, you know, I should just let the weight drop. Yeah, sure, if you're looking for maximum power, then yeah, go for it. Let the eccentric drop. But to create maximum muscle damage from a move like that creates a lot of stress over a large area of musculature, you want to control that weight. Like, hold your deadlifts. Don't just let them drop through gravity. Gravity is not going to give you any gains. So yeah, that's my opinion on sumos at least. But those were perfect from Joannie. So really, really good about that. Then moved on to a push day. As you can see here, 40 kilos. That was one of my last sets on the incline dumbbell. I do have a variety of rep ranges on that, and that was my my lighter set. Those went well. They were all progressive on that day, especially considering the dumbbells at this gym are very hard to handle. This was one of my favorite sort of secondary moves in my session. Camera's a bit shaky because it's propped up in a very precarious position. But this is a pin-loaded chest press. I really like the tension that this creates. The only issue with this specific machine is it does twist a bit. So the handles sometimes get a bit odd. And I think on one of my sets, like my left pec was like getting 70% of the load comparative to my right pec. So if my side chest on stage looks like ridiculous, then you know why. It's because I've been doing like one arm chest presses with too much weight in one arm versus the other. This is also one of my favourite moves on a push day, is the behind the neck press on a plate loaded machine. It's very similar to a hammer strength behind the neck press, this, but it's made by a company called, I've forgotten, I think it's Power something. It might be, I don't think it's Power Fabs, because they make different kit, but it's something similar. And they just order them at this gym. They order them in, and they're very similar to hammer strength. So that was good. That was a good push day. And then my pull day wasn't so good. These dead stop rows have just not felt so good over the last week. So I'll always be honest in these updates, guys. And every training session this week was awesome besides my pull day. And you know when you sort of have a bad session when the first movement of the entire session goes a bit meh. You know what I mean? You get in and you're like, fuck. I really don't want to carry on with the rest of the session because I don't know whether it's going to be good or not. And trust me, like I'm so attached to progress. I'm so attached to my weight training sessions that it's kind of a bad thing, because it means that when I have a bad training session, I do inherently get in a bad mood. I don't let it affect the people around me, but it does affect my mood a lot. And I should really work on that a little bit, so I'm not a crybaby. But yeah, honestly, this session was okay following that dead stop row. So with the dead stop row coming out, well, with the deadlift coming in on a pull day, my dead stop row is going to come out. And the only lower back loading moves that I'll have on this day is probably going to be an SRA or a single arm row. That's probably the only move that I'll have that's inherently loading my lower back, apart from the deadlifts. Because I think trying to do any more than 2 lower back intensive moves on a pull day, you're asking a lot of your lower back. You know, you might see Doug Miller do a deadlift, a single arm row, a bent over row, a T-bar row, but if you watch and you literally you follow Doug Miller, like, or any of people's content that you look up to, you'll see that Doug's not had a good time with his lower back. He's been in like agony on some of his trips when he flies places and stuff like that. So I don't think his lower back's in a great place, put it that way. So you've got to be a bit sensible when it comes to programming with lower back. This is one of my favourite tricep moves. However, this recording is actually my first recording of it. And the reason why I put it in is because of the importance of recording. So I felt this a lot in my triceps. And I was like, this surely is the right way to be doing it. But then when I look back at the recording, I'm finishing the move in a really awkward position. Yes, I've got full elbow flexion, but am I fully extending my tricep? Am I getting the most optimal range? Probably not. So what I did on my second recording, which I don't actually have in this vlog, I basically finished with the dumbbell pretty much in line with my forehead up at the top. So I pushed it over my head and then up. And then that felt a hell of a lot better. So yeah, that's why you record your sets. You know, you get a better understanding as to what's going on. These are my squats, and wow, were they flying. Holy moly. So that was 170 for 2, and that was just like one of my warm-up sets, and I was like, fuck me, it is on! It's on! It's game on! So I ended up doing 5 sets of 4 with 180, and I can't tell you how happy I was with that. I was so happy. I was absolutely buzzed. After my first set of 4, and I knew that I'd get 5 sets. I knew it. I walked out the rack, I fucking chucked my belt off, and I was like, yes! I was like, yes, I'm fucking back. I can actually squat again. So this was actually my last set, which I recorded from the front. So a bit of an interesting sort of angle this. For most people, it shows that it will make their depth look short. But I was pretty happy with how these looked. Every rep that I sort of filmed from the side was perfect, and I was sort of happy with the depth. And you can tell even from the front that I'm sinking these into the hole. So happy with depth, happy with eccentric control. Happy with utilizing the stretch reflex out of the bottom, because at the end of the day, my squat is for squatting. I built good legs out of the way that I squat, so I'm going to continue to do that. So yeah, as long as you're controlling the eccentric to an extent, it doesn't matter if you're using a little bit of the stretch reflex out of the bottom with a squat, you'll still get all the majority of the bodybuilding benefits out of it. These were RDLs, hard as hell. I haven't done an RDL in a long time, but I want to combine these with doing stiff legs with dumbbells to really absolutely ruin my hamstrings. So on one day, I'll do stiff legs with dumbbells, which I find less stress on my lower back. And then on my second day later into the week, I'll try to do these if my lower back is recovered enough. These are great. If you really sit back into the movement, pause at the bottom, not only are they great for increasing mobility of the hip and just getting you into a really good position and teaching you how to fully engage your hamstrings in a hip hinge position, they are just, yeah, a superb hamstring builder. So I really like them. It's high and wide leg press here. The leg press at Underground, sorry if anyone from Underground hears this, but it's shit. It's one of the worst leg presses I've ever used. It never feels good. You can hardly ever get good depth with it because the way the machine's built. So it always looks like people are cutting depth when in reality the whole machine is just horrible. So for me to get this sort of depth is actually a little bit uncomfortable. So I have to sort of sit up on the pad because the pad's either too low or too high, and it's just a shit machine if I'm honest. But these felt good. They were hard, and on a leg press, usually it doesn't look hard. Your final rep won't look hard if you've controlled it well. And, you know, that's a big thing when you're looking at sort of training clips. Is like, you'll look at something and you'll say, oh, you had like 5 more. When in reality, if you've trained hard and you've elicited tension across the target muscle group, something that might look hard might feel completely different when you've fully, like, that was a set of 15. My legs were swollen to fuck, and that was the goal of the set. It was more of a metabolite set. So yeah, that's that there. And then finished off yesterday with upper, which was great. I had a really good bench session. This is sort of what I'm currently looking like at the moment. Just under 170 pounds. Pretty happy with how I'm currently looking. This is very like nice lighting, but it's quite shadowy as well. So happy with the current look. Happy with how everything's going, and we'll chat again next week. Cheers, guys.